My Last Dying Breath, The Fight to Survive, tells the stories of LAFD firefighters who came face to face with the dangers of our profession and survived. These are not stories of failure or blame. They are shared because each firefighter had the courage to relive their most terrifying moments so others may learn, improve, and make it home. We honor their fight to survive, their strength, and the families who stood beside them, then and after these close calls. As these incidents unfold, step into their boots, feel the urgency, the weight of every decision, and how fast routine can quickly become survival. These stories are gifts to the fire service. They remind us why training matters, why teamwork matters, and why every breath matters. Let these firefighters take you inside their incidents. See what they saw, hear what they heard, and understand the dangers we face every day. And ask yourself, what would you do if this was your last dying breath?
Engine 49. Mayday. Truck 38. Hey, we got a firefighter down.
Yeah, Metro Fire Line Force 38. We've had an explosion of a CNG truck. We've got multiple firefighters down.
I was thinking about what my future career was. I looked back at when I was younger, and I do remember they take me over to the fire station, they let me sit in the truck, and I thought that was pretty cool.
I was 18. I was working at a gym. These guys used to come in. I asked them, so what do you guys do for a living? You're here all the time. And they said, oh, we're firefighters. They kind of like guided me through the process, and that's how it first began for me.
We've had an explosion.
The initial call was a auto fire, and so I was upstairs changing into shorts and t-shirt, and then suited up prior to getting on the engine, and left quarters. And as soon as we left quarters, you could see the loom up from our station. Well, when we got on scene, we noticed it was well involved, fully involved in a lot of fires. So my job as the hydrant member, I got off the engine, wrapped the fire hydrant, and was gonna hook up to the hydrant, and did hook up to the hydrant to gain a water supply. Then I came up to the engine and then continued to suit up with my breathing apparatus, grabbed a rubbish hook, and proceeded to go assist with the nozzle member and support him so he can get to the seat of the fire.
As soon as we got to like Alameda Street, engine 49, who was additional to the incident, was in front of us. They had pulled over to lay a supply line. We pulled up, and then we drove right past the tractor. So we're close enough you can feel the heat. You're able to identify what it is, and next thing's to spot. I jumped off and said, hey, I'm gonna get up there. And we started walking up towards the actual truck.
Well, when I first approached the vehicle, I started on the passenger side by pulling the door off with a rubbish hook. Then came to the hood of the semi-truck and pulled that back so he has access to the engine compartment. I worked my way to the driver's side, pulled that door off, and then as I was pulling the door from the ground away from the vehicle, that's when the explosion occurred, and I was knocked out.
It was just a big flash of orange, and then when I opened my eyes up, it was just white.
The next moment I remember is kind of waking up, felt like I was in a dream. I was laying on the floorboard of a rescue ambulance.
You could just see the devastation of what the explosion did. Pieces and parts and just stuff everywhere. I did see one firefighter on the ground. I looked down and I'm like, oh God. And it was Tom. At first look, either he was gone or gonna be gone. I'm like, okay, we need to drag this guy out. But before we drag him out, I wanna make sure that his legs or arms aren't gonna fall off before we drag him out. I grab his arms and I kind of move him around. I start trying to open his coat a little bit. And at this point, he's unconscious to me. Like, his eyes are closed, and he had a face piece on because he was on air. Well, the whole front of the face piece was gone. All that was left was the liner right here and a massive gash on his forehead. I'd seen that he was breathing, and I just grabbed his straps and started pulling him backwards. Yeah, it was a pretty hectic scene.
From the time the explosion occurred until the time I was in the ER room, I don't have any recollection of anything. I believe it was one of the chiefs. They had explained to me that, it was a compressed natural gas cylinder that exploded. The first time I saw the video was days later. I could see me, and when the explosion occurred, I disappeared. Still to this day, I don't know, how far I flew, how I landed, basically how I even survived it. I was grateful to God because the impact that we all took, I figured, well, I think I should be dead.
After Tom was taken over to the area where he was getting assessed, we had an engine company and a rescue who weren't originally attached to the incident. They started handling the patients and seeing who needs to go where. And the captain had come up to me. He's like, hey, this guy's going to the hospital. This guy's going to the hospital. Hey, you're going to the hospital. And I said, hey, let these guys go first. I'll be fine, because when something like that traumatic or fast happens, I guess, you don't feel a lot of things. You have adrenaline. And he's like, no, dude, your face is jacked up. So the rescue had pulled on scene. They were loading these guys in, and I kind of looked in the mirror of the rescue, and I'm like, oh, dang. My whole face was like black from here all the way around. Side of the blast, since I was walking sideways with it.
My wife ended up at my bedside. She looked like she was in shock. To know that your wife has to go through this type of tragedy, I almost felt worse for my wife than I did for myself. My forehead was split open, so I had to go to a plastic surgeon to fix my forehead, orthopedic surgeon for my right elbow. Just over the course of months, you're going through physical therapy. Most concerning was the head trauma. You're just day by day hoping and praying that you get better. Every day, dizzy, lightheaded, just unbalanced for months and months, not knowing when or if it's gonna go away. And no one had an answer. They just said you suffered a severe head injury and there's no timetable on when you're gonna get back to normal. They said the brain's very complex, so it took several months before I felt somewhat normal.
Once I got in, I still had everyone around me, and they're taking vitals and assessing what's on my face and how bad the burns were. My ears were bleeding. There was debris in my skin. This was so important for me, at least, when I'm sitting in the hospital room. Like, all my guys are there. All the guys showed up. They're not assigned to where I'm at right now. I mean, with the fire department, just like siblings at home, you grow up around all these guys and you create friendships that are gonna last, forever. So I think that that's like a special thing that we have in the fire department, is having that brotherhood and those kind of people to lean on.
My fellow firefighters, the members at the station, when I was going through my rehabilitation, they reached out to see how I was doing for that type of support, making sure I'm okay, not only physically, but mentally also. So the only way to know is if you're okay is to get back on the saddle.
Given what we were presented with, sometimes things unexpected happen. There was nothing presenting to us that was a CNG truck. Typically, you might have a relief valve going. There was no relief valve. The other telltale is that you have a placard on there, which is a blue sticker that says CNG. Well, the truck was fully involved. So if there was any sticker, it was burned off. I would say if there's something that looks like it's going wrong, reevaluate your tactics and your approach. Complacency it's a real thing. You know, we go to a lot of medical calls, we go to a lot of auto fires, we go to a lot of rubbish fires. It's not always what you think it is. So you gotta approach it a certain way and just, roll with the punches if something happens.
The most significant thing I can pass on to any firefighter is wear your proper PPEs, suit up. That's the best advice I can give anyone. If I wasn't wearing my proper PPEs, I'd definitely be dead. It wasn't my time. God saved my life. But having that trust in wearing my PPEs and God, that combination, that's why I'm alive today.
Ice from engine 209. You got heavy fire on the Delta side. We have an explosion, one-story commercial on the Delta side. Hey, engine 209, heavy fire blowing out, Delta side. Man, from the roof. Truck 2, top man, through the roof, heavy fire.
My dad was a firefighter, retired out of LA City, 38 years, so that's all I've ever known. He always wanted me to do it, follow my dreams. I knew immediately since I was a kid that this was exactly what I wanted to do growing up. Just wanted to be exactly like him. I remember that day, September 19th, 2018, 3 months in, and I remember coming in like a normal day, still nervous, and then all of a sudden we get the pulse point that there was a structure fire, and the AO looks back at me, and because we were just coming back from another call, and he said, hey, we're going to that, suit up, we're going. In that 3 months, fresh on the job, it was the biggest fire I ever went to. I get out of the rig, I make sure, did a quick check, okay, got my bottle, the radio, got my glove, everything's good. Okay, got all my stuff, I'm ready to go. The tiller member was like, hey, let's stop, let's wait until we see where the AO throws it, the stick. So we're waiting, and that waiting feeling, not doing anything, physically, it was kind of, I was focusing on that fire, and it's just kind of getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So next thing you know, the AO throws a stick, and he's like, all right, let's go. We're going to the roof. As we were on the exposure and we were getting closer and closer, I see the AO, and he points, and so the inside member, he hops over, goes out about 10 feet, and simultaneously I go over. We were on there for maybe 10 seconds, and all of a sudden the inside member, the guy in front of me, turns around in a fast walk, starts walking by me. And so as he's about to pass me, that's when it collapsed. That has been the hardest part of the trauma, is that initial drop, where everything is, your whole world is, everything is quote unquote going this certain direction, and then your world gets flipped. It's always, I think about it every day, that feeling of you're standing on a roof and then it collapses. I felt like I was free falling. Afterwards, I learned that I rode the roof down 24 feet and rode it down, but it felt like I was free falling. And I hit the ground, and it was just all black. It was all smoke. You go from daylight to complete darkness. And I just felt that fear of, this is it, like you're dead. And I instantly just started screaming, Mayday. Just screaming it, Mayday, 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 Mayday. And I was just screaming it because I was relying on that drill tower experience. We would always get pulled aside and say, hey, give us your Mayday. So when the roof collapsed, I just went into that mode, Mayday. I just started screaming it because it was muscle memory. It was just drilled in us. So I started screaming, Mayday, 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 screaming. And I always thank God that I didn't hit the push to talk. Because I wouldn't want, especially like my wife, to hear that, to hear me screaming like that. Because it was, as soon as I fell on, It was hot, really hot. I basically felt like I was getting burned alive, and I didn't want her to hear that scream. What I didn't know what I was on that roof. So when that roof collapsed, it landed on all that debris underneath. So it made the only path out was that it was a ramp. That's what I call it, a ramp. The roof caved in, it was an arch, and then it caved in, and it made a perfect ramp with one way out. I was basically directed by the heat, because it was so unbearably hot, it just forced me to keep going a certain direction. And as I'm making that way up, that ramp, and I'm crawling, I started making my peace. I started to pray a little bit in my head, and I was basically saying, God, can you take care of my family, my wife, my daughter, my son, just make sure they're okay. And then another thought came in my head, and it really pissed me off. It's like, you remove your mask and you die instantly. You don't feel any more pain, you just take a gulp and you're done. And as soon as I had that thought to not fight anymore, these words that our drill master would say, go down swinging, started just blasting in my head, go down swinging, go down swinging. But what makes it so much more impactful is if you can attach the words go down swinging to someone you care about. So for me, it was the words were coming in, go down swinging. And then an image of my daughter, Charlie. She was 5. And then it's just fuel. And then go down swinging. And then another image of my son, he's 3. And then an image of my wife. And it's not a picture on my phone, it's a real life moment. And they were just looking at me. Like in my head, it made sense, like that's the better option. That's the man I want to be, where I don't want to take my mask off and give up. The option that appealed to me was, I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna go down swinging. I'm gonna break this wall down if I have to. I'm gonna crawl my way if I have to get to my kids and my wife. I kept going up, but I kept going up, and I eventually hit my head on the front of the building, the alpha side. And I looked up, and I remember seeing blue sky, and it was very clear. And then I popped my head out. I then felt this force just kind of throw me onto the ground, and looking back, it was the AO. He basically had thrown me down, got burned, his hands got burned, but he basically threw me down, and then we all started trying to get out of the way because of the heat. So before you know it, I'm in the rescue. They start taking me in the hospital, and the pain was there the entire time. And mom coming in, wife coming in, dad coming in.
It's just tough. Not so much as a fire captain per se, but just as a parent. Seeing one of your kids go through a catastrophic near-death incident and survive to self-rescue.
I was 10% burned, ears, shoulders, back. I suffered 3rd-degree burns on the right hand, 4th degree on the pinky. The bones fused together, nerves were dead. Despite that incident, I still wanted to complete probation, but the pinky was not cooperating. It was stuck. It was always up, getting caught on stuff, and so it kind of came down to the decision: either you keep the pinky, or you lose it and you go back to work. So I chose to amputate it off, basically because I didn't want that part to stop me from completing my goal.
I told his mom, I go, he's gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay. He's gonna be all right. He's gonna heal up fine. And in private, I told her, it's the wounds that I can't see. I said, I don't know anything about.
I was so over-focused on the physical part that the mental stuff came afterwards. It was pretty honest. I said, I'm either gonna get myself killed or get someone else hurt or killed, just because mentally, I am not here. And I said, I need help. I need to do something quickly, or I'm gonna go find something to jump off of. And you try to block it out for so long, and I finally just said, you know what, I can't do it anymore. I need help. It was a long journey to get through that, but I finally overcame the trauma with it.
To me, it's just the physical part and the mental trauma part, and to still come back and fulfill your dreams to be a firefighter and to have that passion and to be in a fire station, you know, after that. And it's beyond me.
I've had moments of talking to younger firefighters and had the opportunity to speak at a couple of classes. One, you take training seriously. It's paramount because if you do it good enough and you realize what's the purpose of it, it just becomes muscle memory where it's automatic. You don't have to think about it, which I have never experienced in my life, where it's just something just takes over you. Your body knows what to do. Staying low, you know, finding my way out, making sure my airway's good. All that stuff was happening in a split second just because it was drilled in us. You have to fight. You have to keep going. Break down a wall, climb out through whatever the circumstances. You have to keep going no matter what, until you can't go anymore, and then you go more. You keep going because who are you doing this for? It's not yourself. Who are you doing it for? It's for my loved ones at home, so that I can go home the next day. So when you have that moment, realize what you're fighting for. It's not just your life, but it's the other people's lives that are also going to be impacted if you don't fight.
Emergency traffic. This is 288 is low on air. We're having trouble getting back to where we are. 288 is on.
Throughout childhood, when I saw firefighters serving others and doing things that not everyone would want to do, I was just drawn to that.
My family's always been in service, and that's something that I thought I'd enjoy. So lucky for me, I had many friends that paved the way that had gone through this process before and were more than happy to take me under their wing. The rest is history. Shortly after going to bed, I think the time was 1 minute after midnight, the call came in. And it ended up being the first incident for the next day. Got down, got in the rig, and we left as a task force to the reported structure fire.
The interesting thing about this day, we have an operation called a move up. We ended up at Fire Station 99, although I was working on Engine 33 in South LA.
As we're coming up, we see Engine 33 had shot past us. Now, Engine 33 is not in the valley. That is the first time that we even identified that they're on the incident. We looked down at our screen, our NDT, and said, Engine 33, what are they doing here? Like, they made great time.
We saw Truck 88, Engine 28 coming up. Then I knew we were really past it, because if they're coming up, we're going down. I look up, I see the fire. I told the engine, hey, we passed it, so we're delayed. And we're behind the 8 ball.
Engine 33 at this point had turned around, had come up behind us, and we identified coming up that we saw fire in the windows below. So we had the knowledge coming into this that this was a below grade fire. This was a descending home. It was 3 stories. We had street level, ground level, that's the first floor, and then we had sub 1 and sub 2 underneath that. And we knew that we had fire below us.
The typical operation, like what are we gonna do to support fire attack, is the captain does a 360 survey to get situational awareness, to identify the building construction, the location of the fire. I never did it. So in my mind, I thought someone did it. So what we did by going through the Alpha side without doing a 360, and this fire was like on 2 floors below, so we were basically the equivalent of going into a top of a chimney to fight a fire, which is a cardinal sin. You don't do that. What I basically did was lead everyone behind me into a death trap.
I crawl in because members had already been inside. And I just remember just immense heat just coming up. And all of a sudden, I hear this loud, just steam valve go off. And I mean, deafening, where shh. And right to the right of me, a hose line had burst. And in that moment, with that steam valve, it's cutting right through. So all that steam was going right into me. It felt like I wasn't wearing anything. And I'm just getting burned. And I'm trying to communicate as calmly as I can, we need to go. And so, Cap, the hose line, it burst. He goes, okay, let's leave. I go, yes, let's leave. And we start to walk, and mind you, I did a big no-no. I let go of the hose line. I'm on the hose line walking in, we get burned. I stood up and I let go of the hose line and turned around to run out the door.
Somehow in the retreat, members got out of the structure, except for me, the captain on engine 288, and the nozzle person on 288. Three of us somehow didn't get out. We ended up going into an office adjacent to the exit, not knowing it was an office. It was like an 8x8 room with furniture, not knowing it was a room.
In that, mistake, we end up just off of our path, maybe 2-3 feet from the door, and we run into the side where there's a table. I remember hearing the breaking glass, and I had a pike pole in my hand, and I remember getting that all tangled up, and I was in a place of, we got to get out of here. Captain Shirley says calmly, are you on the hose line? I go, yes, I am. He goes, find me a coupling, get me out of here. So I run my hands and I find the coupling, and at the time, we were doing this thing called little big back to the rig. The lugs on the coupling, the different sizes, the little one first and then the big one, that would direct you towards the pump. Well, as I'm going, it's taking me out of the room and right back into that steam valve. And so I just feel like I'm walking right into the fire.
The problem was, every time we read it correctly and getting close to the rig, because the hose led you to the front door, but that front door was a chimney because the lower floors were venting right near where the exit was at. It was too hot. There's no way there's a way out. So I didn't trust the training, that it was good. We're like, maybe I got off the hose. Let's try again.
So I'm going back, kind of like a rat in a cage, just going back and forth, and it's not making sense. My training, don't trust it. I must be wrong. I messed up. So I pick up that coupling again, and I was so determined that I got it wrong that I was willing to burn my hand over it. I took my glove off, and I felt the couplings again, and extremely hot. Okay, I got it, and I start feeding myself out, and I go right back into that steam valve. I got it wrong again.
Not calming down and really thinking it through, we continued doing it several times, to the point where one of the things that you're limited with is how much air you have. What should have happened is we have an ability to buddy breathe. We have a device on our SCBA to where I can hook up to your breather and it will equilibrium allow me to draw air off any other member. You can do it numerous times. But because of the lack of breathing and organizing acting and the heightened situation, it never crossed my mind to buddy breathe.
I remember a figure crawling inside and laying on top of the hose. And I remember telling Cap, I'm getting low on air. And that's the first time the figure on the ground said, I'm getting low too.
I was pretty much on the ground, still on the hose line, but truly believe that's when I gave the keys of my life to the two guys, because at that point, if I couldn't make decisions with air, there was no way I was gonna make it without air. And it was basically, they said I was moving around, but at that point, and I look back at trying to get the timeline, it's probably when I fell in and out of consciousness at that point.
My wife was pregnant with our second child. I got that running through my head, and I remember thinking I could see the headline on the newspaper. And I remember thinking that I never updated our life insurance policy from the tower. I'm not leaving my wife with anything. So those were things that were messing with me. Plus, I remember my right ear was just taking a pounding. It was just super immense heat, and find out later it had a small, I mean, you could barely see pinhole in the hood. That heat was just coming through and blistering my ear.
What should have happened is we should have, as supervisor, me and the captain should have called emergency traffic. We never did that. Luckily, the firefighter, he did it. So once he did it, there was awareness that we had people inside that could not find their way out.
I stepped aside to get away from the feedback from the captain, and I said, emergency traffic, this is engine 288. We came in on the alpha side of the building. We're low on air and our hose line burst. We need help getting out. And immediately Captain Shirley took over comms, which is exactly what I wanted. Making that call as at that time I was a 4 or 5 year firefighter, and for me it was a radio traffic. I had no intention of taking over command. It was just simply getting this word out to change the direction of the incident. Stepping on his toes was secondary to me. And I remember, once again, it was getting eerie quiet. I'm sitting there and I'm trying not to let the thoughts go to the front of my head. And what had happened is our trunk company continued to cut on the roof, and it eventually opened up almost right over where the stairwell was coming up, where all that heat was coming into us was now venting out. So that steam valve turned off. And I remember just boom, there it is. The door's over there. So I do this shuffle step back, and blessing, I run right back into Captain Shirley. I remember running into him, and I go, Cap. He goes, I said, I got the door. And he goes, okay, let's go. I go, okay. So I grab onto his turnouts, and we start to shuffle back towards the door. Shirley, I remember him pulling something from behind, and he was dragging who I thought was our nozzle member. And I'm like, what's wrong with this guy? You know, and he's dragging him out. And as he gets him past the threshold, I see an orange helmet, which at the time was a captain. I go, who is that? And I see a second stage regulator that should be connected and should be breathing is dragging on the ground. And I'm like, when did that happen? So here we had someone fighting for their life at our feet, and we weren't aware.
This I remember. The captain goes, hey, Vinny, we got a way out, let's go. So I was crawling out, man, I was in and out of consciousness. But at some point during the extraction, I pass out, like I'm done. And then he continues to pull me out. When ultimately they pulled me out, I wasn't breathing.
I remember coming out, and I remember all the bodies jumping on him and dragging him to a gurney. He was unconscious. I remember the adrenaline dump that kind of knocked me down, took out my knees and kind of went down to the ground for a second. And then I remember hearing all these captains talking to the IC saying, 288 is out, all of 288 is out. So then I finally got to calm down and go, okay, everybody's out.
One of the biggest lessons is the complacency of single-family dwellings or bread and butter fires. You have to always treat everything like it's life or death.
In that room, to do it over again, we would have communicated better, the three of us. As soon as we realized that we're in a survival situation, any one of us could have started that activation of, hey, this is it. How much air do you have? Why are you laying down? Find out. We could have started buddy breathing, which not only allows him to get air, but now it's an umbilical cord. We're attached to each other. We're going out of here together.
The acronym BOA for Breathe, Organize, Act. If you take the time to breathe, to organize your thoughts, and act, you can combat those chemicals that happen when you're in that fight or flight, and not just for firefighting, but any type of stressful situation that I might be faced with in life.
When I came out of that incident, we used to talk about donkey drills. Guys used to do survival drills, and it's like, man, they tie the hose in knots, like that's ridiculous, that would never happen. After I came out, I'm like, tie it up, make it harder, because I felt like I was just dealing with hundreds of feet of spaghetti and I couldn't figure it out, because in training, we typically can't add the heat and we can't add the doubt that you're gonna go home. But in the moment, you don't know when you're gonna finally be out of it. So making it more challenging to make you stress You learn a lot about what you'll do and what your company's capable of.
Your body goes through this whole process when dealing with a near miss, near death. So you don't process things like the day after. It takes time. But once it really sunk in, there's a lot of guilt because potentially could have killed some people on decisions I made, and I'm responsible for the crew and the people that come after me. I'm an officer, and over time, in teaching the incident and just sharing the story, that guilt turned into a passion to ultimately save lives.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. We got firefighters trapped in Division 1. Hey, mayday. I see Division 1. We've had a interior roof collapse, one member trapped. I see. Mayday, mayday, Division 1. We got multiple members trapped.
I think my first thought of entertaining a career as a fireman was on September 11th of 2001. I was sitting in sophomore biology, watching the towers fall. And I think that was the catalyst that started me down the road of going to become a firefighter.
My first introduction as far as wanting to be a firefighter, I was in high school and I had the opportunity to become a part of our fire cadet program. And it kind of just really immersed me into that culture, that life, and something I really gravitated to.
Yeah, one member trapped right now, critical. 200 members unaccounted for in Division 1.
That night, everything was kind of normal. We were winding down after a busy day, and at some point, we were all basically in bed that night, and we got toned out for a structure fire response. As we started coming in, we noticed we had smoke showing from a one-story commercial, which was a church. It felt like a straight no-brainer. I felt that we were going to get inside, open it up, get up in the attic, apply some water with our companies on scene, and it was going to be nice and clean. We're going to be done in no time. And that's when things started getting weird.
We were in the offensive mode on a 2-story church fire. We had fire in the first floor. My job was mainly to be an extra set of eyes and ears for the chief and to be a scribe and keep track of all the companies that we have, what they're doing, and if they're being reassigned or we're getting reassigned companies to us.
As I made access into the church, we now began to look around to find where the best point of access was to gain access into the attic to start fighting this fire. I was on the floor, making sure they had enough hose line, slack. As I bent over, I began pulling hose, and then everything went dark.
We were inside the church. There had already been one ceiling collapse that got Captain Eric Garcia. We went defensive, so we were exiting the building, being the last ones out, and then we stopped for whatever reason just shy of the doorway, and then the collapse happened.
That initial thought when I went down was to yell for my crew, to make sure they were okay. And whatever that was, whatever I expelled, whatever that yell was, when I went to breathe, there was nothing. There was no inhalation. So instantly I realized something's wrong.
By the time I figured out what was going on, I was already pinned to the ground face first. The way I was being buried was my legs had done the split and the material was trying to push me over at the hips. And one of my memories when I was buried was going, okay, grab lives. I went through every letter and I went, oh my God, I can't do any of this. This is useless to me right now. Now the material that is burying me is coming up under my face and it's pushing my head back. My next thought that I have is, well, this is where I die now. It's gonna literally break my head off my neck.
I was laying face down on the floor, but I was trapped like this, on my elbows. So the only mobility I had essentially was I can wiggle my head a little bit like this, and I can wiggle my fingers. I went to move and get up, and I realized there was no moving, there was no getting up. And I realized everything I've ever learned in my life, I can't apply to this. Just 100% helpless. And I can feel like things are getting worse. I can feel heat on my back, I can feel heat on my legs. I can hear radio traffic, I can hear people, I can feel people working on me, I can feel whatever's on me getting heavier, hurting. And I'm like, it's not gonna get better. And I'm just starting to go out, meaning really starting to lose consciousness. I realized this was looking like this was gonna be the end. And at some point, myself, I made peace with the Lord. Just hope we're good. Hope I lived a good life for you, for the family, myself. Hope we're good.
My next thought in my brain is, oh my God, I'm gonna die right here. And my last thought that I have is, I never got to talk to my wife one last time. Because at that moment, I did not expect to ever talk to her again.
Through all this hustle and bustle and things moving on me and my back getting worse, the feeling just things are crushing me. At some point, something towards my right arm, something freed up, like instantly. And I was able just to gasp, air. And my arm shot out, and I just grabbed onto whatever was there, and thank gosh, thank the Lord, it just happened to be a firefighter. I felt people all around me, and I just felt like a bunch of bulls in a china shop, just boom, taking off with me.
They were finally able to get my upper body out. I'm not sure how far down. Realized that I was as blue as this uniform, because at that point I had stopped actually breathing. They all grabbed my arms and started yanking me out, and were at some point finally able to just pull the rest of my body out of the debris.
Get me out of here!
We got outside of the church, now we're in the open area, safe area, and I start realizing, my body's hurting. I'm not feeling well. My rotator cuff got blown out. I had nerve damage in my right hand. I had a fractured ankle, just injuries like that required surgery.
So I was diagnosed with a broken shoulder, 2 broken knees. I lost 8 days of memory, was diagnosed with a low-level traumatic brain injury. So everything except for the about minute or so that I was buried before I went unconscious, that's the only memory I actually have. There's a 7-8 day period that has been wiped clean from my brain. My wife says it best. She goes, for that week, the lights were on, but no one had been home for months. I don't have a single doubt in my mind that should this happen again to somebody else, that the crews aren't gonna act the exact same way. So it really is a different lifestyle and different life we live.
When the members were able to rescue me, they grabbed onto my SCBA, my shoulder straps, and they were able to drag me out. And as they did, I had my waist strap on, which keeps everything snug on me. Had I not had that waist strap on, the SCBA would have just fallen off. And I think that was critical, crucial to my rescue.
What I have told everybody that's asked, and what I would continue to tell people, is everybody gets tired on the weekend sometimes of doing some of the less fun drills. You take them seriously, because that one might not save your life, but it might save the person who's sitting next to you, or the person who's riding on the engine out in the valley. Every little mundane thing we do that we just get so used to as day-to-day operations can really affect something.
I've been a member of our live fire training cadre, and that training, that live fire training, I attribute that to me not panicking. To me, that was the biggest, most important piece of training in my life. The big thing for me is the members on scene, selfless members, engaging without even thinking, to go to work, to lift this material off me, to get me out. It really just validates the members of the Los Angeles City Fire Department. I'm here because of these amazing firefighters.
firefighters injured on the sidewalk. Cross from truck 9, we're working on a parked car.
The first time I really gave it a serious thought about becoming a firefighter was, I think I was a sophomore in high school. We had a career day, and it was like, man, this is awesome. Like, this is something that I could see myself kind of being a part of, you know, that family.
The idea actually came from my mom. Just out of high school, why don't we take a little station visit? And it was from that moment it kind of like set me on a road of chasing this career.
I have 6 firefighters down on the front alpha side of the building. We need help.
When the call came out, we were playing for dishes, and we were playing dice. And the great thing was about this was we had everyone at the station, which is very, very rare.
It's always a fun time for us, right? We put some music on, messing around, having some camaraderie. That was probably one of the last good moments we had before the structure fire came in on Boyd Street.
So just after dinner, the incident came out, structure fire and our first in, and we start heading out. There's no Luma. There's nothing that is telling me, hey, we're going to, you know, one of the most historic fires in LAFD history.
We get to the fire, and it's in the marijuana district, mainly like tobacco stores there. And it's a 1-story commercial, kind of narrow inset between two buildings adjacent to it.
It was barely like a wisp of smoke that we saw at the top of a rolling steel door. Hey, we went to work. I threw my aerial. Those lays were happening on the engine side. Everyone was in sync for a good operation.
So we go up, we open up one rolling steel door, and as we open it up, it's storage, wrap pack conditions all the way up to the top. And when you have firefighters with all their gear on, it gets even tighter. It's not the easiest to make egress and exit when you need to in, let's say, a dangerous situation.
As I'm throwing the stick, the smoke starts to increase a little bit, but I would call it like a moderate, lazy smoke from the top of the rolling steel door, and just little puffs of it. So I get on the roof, and we get up there and we talk it up.
What do you guys got? We got smoke coming over there, all the way to the back. You got smoke.
I go over and cut an inspection hole.
So as we're walking in, visibility is still fairly clear. Smokes may be banked down to the top of my helmet, so I have a clear shot to the back. Nothing too concerning.
So we get halfway down the roof, and I decide to cut my first heat hole. I would say it'd be heavy pressurized smoke, I would say. Nothing at that point led me to believe that things were going wrong.
So we're going in on the hose line, and we approach a ladder. I immediately thought to myself, this is going to be a bad situation if we have to pull out of here.
I get to my second or third extension, and now we have heavy fire coming out of the hole. I developed a bad practice with my structure gloves, and it's something that I want to harp on, because if there's one thing I want people to take away from this, it's the importance of your PPEs and not becoming complacent. It's in this moment where I'm looking down to put on my work gloves instead of my structure gloves. Just by the grace of the universe, by the grace of God, we had a fire earlier on that day where I used my work gloves and they got wet. And so I'm forced now to put on my structure gloves. If that fire did not happen in the morning, I wouldn't have my hands.
As I'm squeezing past the ladder, that's when conditions change. And when the conditions changed, they changed instantly. As it got completely dark inside, simultaneously we started hearing these popping noises, almost like fireworks.
I pass the saw off. We've backed up now about 10, 15 feet. That's when the fire intensity starts picking up, and it starts doing things that were out of line with what we expect up on a roof. And then I noticed that there's these little popping sounds happening.
It was actually whippets, nitrous oxide canisters that were starting to explode inside the building. So all in this maybe 10 to 15 seconds, those popping noises actually started turning into a rumble sound and kept getting louder and louder.
It started to sound like a 747 was flying 10 feet above our head, like hovering there. That's how loud I perceived it to be. And it was apparent we need to get off.
I turned to my partner behind me and I said, we gotta get out of here. We gotta get out of here right now. The problem was, when that rumble happened, it shifted the ladder, completely trapping us inside. So as everybody's trying to get out, we're stuck right there.
Every cell in your body, every bone in your body is telling you, get off. I thought the roof was gonna explode. And we looked down at our feet. We now had fire at our feet. I must have took like maybe 1 or 2 steps, and this fireball came rushing out. And I'm telling myself like, hey, I gotta get down as fast as possible. And every step that I'm taking down this aerial ladder has to count. Lost my balance, took a tumble forward, and I remember just thinking like, oh no, this is bad. The fireball's still shooting out towards the rig. It's now engulfing us. In that fall, my axe came flinging forward and got wedged in the right side of the aerial. And I'm engulfed in this fireball, but I'm not moving.
I remember thinking, we may not get out of here. This roof's gonna collapse on us right now. And that's it, like, we're done. You know, you're always sad to hear near misses or tragic events, but you never think it's gonna be you. As I'm thinking that, the explosion happens. Everybody's on fire head to toe. I'm looking at kind of whatever I can see, my arms, my chest, my helmet, and everything's on fire, everything. And I remember being in so much pain and it being so hot and burning, and I just thought like, just let it stop.
Being stuck, that was my moment of like, dude, you're gonna die here. Your brain goes into this crazy and fascinating state where you're playing through so many things. I can't believe it's happening here. This is where I die. I didn't have the whole flashy thing with the family and stuff like that, or God. It was just like an amazement of, this is where you're dying.
I looked up. And I told God, I go, just take me. Just take me, because I don't want to feel this anymore. And then it kind of stopped. And then I thought, that's not the way we're going to go down. We're going to fight. Even if that means that we don't make it out of here, they're going to have a body to recover. So at least that our families could have that.
One of my firefighters that got off the aerial safely, he came back and pulled me off the aerial, and he yanked me so hard that it separated my axe scabbard from my axe belt, and he drugged me, 10 feet down that aerial. And I remember falling off of it and someone catching me, and I'm hanging upside down.
The firefighter who was behind me, who's now in front of me, Andrew Tom, he pushes his way through, and then it's my turn, and I know I gotta go. I gotta go because I have 3 other members behind me that are burning more than I am. And now it's a race for life. I'm crawling, and I feel my palms burning, my head's burning. I can't see anything but fire. It's a firewall from head to toe. So finally, I crawl out, and I rolled on the sidewalk. And I just looked up, and I just remember all I could do is thank God that I made it out.
I get down on the ground, they set me down, and then that's when like the sensation of, dude, I'm burned. I don't know where. I couldn't feel it in the moment. And I remember immediately trying to take off my gloves, my jacket, and now I see everything else that's going around me, all the chaos. Someone got on a hose line, started putting out the aerial. My rig's on fire. I remember just seeing, bodies being drugged out of this building. And those were my guys, And I always told myself, like, man, when bad things happen, I'm gonna be stepping up. And I'm gonna be the one helping. I remember walking over and seeing one of my firefighters dragged out unconscious, and I was like convinced he was dead. And I couldn't do anything but just watch. Being shell-shocked as I was, I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle seeing him like that. And I just turned the other way, walking like a zombie because I'm shell-shocked and burned. I don't know how bad yet.
I see our captain too, Victor Geary, walking from the opposite side of the truck towards us, and he's walking like this. I thought it was his t-shirt that was leaking down from his arms. But as I continue to look at him, it's his skin from his hands and his arms that literally melted all the way and is dragging on the floor. And he's just walking like this, like just in shock. We get to the paramedic rescue that we're loading people up in. We're like, where are the drivers? The drivers for that paramedic rescue were also attached to the engine company and got burned inside.
We piled in this rescue, and Gonzalez is driving and he's burned, and we're just hightailing to the hospital like a freaking clown car. Burned firemen.
We got to LA County USC Hospital, to the ER, and we had 12 firefighters injured.
I spent, I think, almost 2 weeks in the hospital. I think what hurts me the most isn't, the fact that I got burned or whatnot. I could deal with that, but it's just hard to see your guys get hurt. That fire put an abrupt stop to what we had going on my shift. We were tight. I mean, we traveled together, we spent time together, but I cared for them. I know at the end of the day, like, man, that fire changed a lot of people's trajectories. And it just bums me out.
The Boyd Street incident did a good job showing what our motto is here at Frank Hotchkins, right? Train as if your life depends on it, because it does. Take training seriously, because it was the training that kept us from being more severely burned or dead.
I'll tell you the things that we did do right. We relied on the most basic form of our training, which is being suited in the right PPEs, right? If we were not suited up on air, we'd be going to funerals, 100%, 100%.
This is the time, this is the opportunity to be vulnerable. Go to the difficult stations, go to the difficult assignments, get the experience, because you're gonna find at those assignments some very good people that are gonna take care of you. And they gotta teach you how to hone your craft and how to be a good leader.
Don't ever give up, take your training seriously, and chase that knowledge, because that's the stuff that's gonna keep you safe, and that's gonna set you up for the rest of your career. From the moment you get on this job, whether you're a recruit or otherwise, is you're in a race to learn as much as you can before something tragic happens to you.
If I could share anything with anyone, it would be just don't stop fighting, because when you get there, you get to really appreciate life. We survived it because we never stopped fighting.